All right. So, welcome everybody. Happy full moon. Greetings to anybody who's new, participating for the first time. My name is Reverend Anna Jones, and we're here on this full moon of May, which is the ecstatic full moon in Scorpio. It's one of those rare times where both the Vedic astrology and the tropical astrology agree with each other and say that the moon is in Scorpio. And it's also a special, it's known as the flower moon because it's that time of the year when all of the spring flowers start to just really be exploding, not just the early wildflowers and the early flowers, but all the trees coming out, everything coming into flower, coming into bloom, the energies of spring and summer, spring blending into summer basically. But it's also a special one today. I'm not going to go into it much length. I'm planning on going more into length about the moon and the moon cycles and things like that in the study group that I'm hosting that goes along with this series. This is the free series, the free global transmissions. And then we're taking the messages that we receive from these transmissions from Archangel Michael, and then I formulated like a study group format that's also on Zoom that you can find on my website also. In fact, if you want to learn more about me, you want to learn more about the study group, you can go to annajonesonline.com and be able to find that. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so that's somebody putting up a notice, but anyway, as far as like where your eyes can physically see in Vedic astrology, which is sidereal astrology, which is what is astronomically accurate. The moon is in Scorpio tonight, so I thought it was one of those times when they were matching, but it's definitely astronomically located in the constellation of Scorpio. For those of you who care about those things, so the energies though are also amplified. All full moons are amplifications, and I spoke a little bit about this last time in the first part of this series of global transmissions. But there's extra amplification happening with this particular full moon because of the sacred connection associated with the appearance. It's actually celebrated as the appearance day, the disappearance day, so the birth, the death, and the enlightenment of the Buddha. So that is another thing that's special and is considered to be a time where all of the spiritual activities that we do are exponentially amplified and can be extremely powerful for karma clearing, enlightenment, for really spiritual progress that we want to make on our journey. So it's a very auspicious time for this transmission. And those of you, again, who may be new, you can learn more about the transmissions. You can listen to last month's transmission on the Celestial Voice podcast. I managed to get caught up, and there's the spring equinox as well as the April full moon transmission from Archangel Michael up on the Celestial Voice podcast now, and those are all reachable. You can get the audio portion of the podcast only on either Apple Podcasts, iTunes, or Apple Podcasts, whichever they call it these days, and on my website, on the podcast button, when you go to annajonesonline.com, you can learn more about me, you can learn more about the study groups. You can also listen to all the free podcasts. In fact, it's not just the one from the series that are up there. There's over 40 now that you have the opportunity to listen to from previous years and previous series, but all of them are containing timeless wisdom, as you'll hear each one of them. Each one of them contains timeless wisdom. In fact, I've been going back and listening to some of the messages from the last 2-3 years now and listening to them again, and they take on a whole new meaning at this point for me. So that's interesting. I go back and listen to them like everybody else does because I'm in a deep meditative trance state when they come through. I remember, the energy passes through me. I retain a certain amount. I feel like I retain it all, but I consciously retain a certain amount of it. And like everybody else, I forget. And then I have to go back, and I also have to listen to them and learn from them and be guided by them, etc. So it's been a beautiful experience for me as well to be able to put them up there for the podcast purposes. And then the newest part of the podcast is being able to also access the video through the Celestial Voice podcast on YouTube. So that's got lesser number. I think there's only like 5 or something that are up on YouTube, but all of the audios are up on the Celestial Voice audio podcast. So that's how you can access them. But you don't have to have listened to any of them in order to get benefit from them. And you don't have to listen to it on the full moon or be here live for participation. But I thank all of you who come live because I do feel that there is something special that we receive when we receive the transmission at the time of the energetic alignment, right? He usually chooses it to be on some day that's associated with some shift in cosmic time or natural time, right? So this is the first series that's on the full moon, as I mentioned. And there's lots of things, again, we can go learn and study about the energies of this full moon, and I'll speak more about it in the study group each time, kind of getting people prepared for it, and even doing more teachings on the lunar cycle. But this time, I want to just dive in, especially since I was late arriving. I want to dive into the questions for tonight. And as somebody who's been receiving these messages for years, there was a process. I'll just explain that as we go along. A process that I was given years ago. It was over over 2 decades, almost 3 decades now, a very long time ago, that if I always wanted to have these communications with the angels and be able to bring through messages from the angels for other people, receive them for myself, that if I use this process, it would always work to make these communications possible. And it's 4 things done in 5 steps. But they said, and I'm going to take us through all those 5 steps, those 4 things done in those 5 steps. I'll guide us through it. But they said never even to begin to approach, like don't even start that, don't even start those 4 things done in 5 steps without questions, and to always proceed with questions, and that really the questions are very, very important as to kind of like letting them know what we're ready for, what we're seeking, what we want help with, obviously. But they're also questions that kind of open doors. They said they're almost like keys, so to speak, that open certain doors. They're things that sometimes they even want to speak about, but they won't until the question is asked. That's been something very fascinating throughout the many years now that I've been receiving messages from the angels, decades now that I've been receiving messages for other people and for myself, how important the questions are. So I don't proceed without questions. I always proceed with questions. And whenever there's a series going on, I like to base some of the questions based on things from previous series. So in fact, I see some people putting things in the chat right now. I'm not going to have time to respond to the chat, and it actually does like kind of distract the energy. So if we could reserve doing the chat until the end, and I'll let us know when it's okay to like make comments or ask a question or say something to everybody, like if you want to say hello to everybody or wish everybody well or send love or any of those things. I'll do it at the end. That way we don't I don't get distracted from the process, especially now that I'm going into talking about the questions, and then I'll go straight from the questions and leading us through the process. So what are the questions based on some of the things from last time? I have my own, but during the study group, one of the other nice things about the participation in the study group, which is being held on the first Tuesday of every month after this transmission, right? So there'll be the first Tuesday of June after this transmission, right? So first Tuesday of June will be the next study group. And we'll study the message that comes through tonight. Yeah. But last time we did the study group, which studied last month's message, and there was some questions that did come forward. And so people from the study group are allowed to submit questions. If there's a lot, I won't be able to always mention them, but there was like 4, maybe 4, maybe 5 here that I thought were really, really good in follow up to last month. So I'm going to read what those questions are first, and then after I read those, I'll kind of share what mine are. Actually, maybe I should do mine first because mine will give a little bit of an overview. I guess I'll do mine first and then I'll do those. Okay. So one of the themes Archangel Michael talked about, I'll do mine first. So he said that the big theme for his message last time was uncertainty. Even though he talked a lot about emotions, and I'd say it was his secondary theme was definitely on the topic of emotions. So I wondered if he is still going to continue to speak on the topic of uncertainty, because he said that he was definitely going to continue to speak on the topic of emotions, and that he wanted to do a whole series of messages on the emotions, which I'm very excited about. So I'm asking him what emotions he wants to talk about tonight. He spoke a lot about fear. Does he have anything further to say on that particular emotion, because the fear of uncertainty is what he was really tying together. And living in times where there's a great amount of uncertainty in our lives, and how he was talking about the emotion of fear in response to that, right? In response to that uncertainty, and how to transform, transmute, transcend, things that he talks about in my Keeping Your Heart Open book, which is back there behind my shoulder, where you see the angel wings there in my book called Keeping Your Heart Open. There's a lot that he teaches in there on the subject of transmuting, transforming, transcending emotions, and then also just letting ourselves be an instrument for them to just move through us, which he calls transmission. So those four things he touched on pertaining to fear. So that's actually going to be one of the questions that was here from the study group. So I'll go ahead and read that one really quickly. In fact, that question was, when we use the virtues, because he recommends using the virtues to do this. He says, when we use the virtues to transform, transmute, or transcend, is Archangel Michael saying that we're really only working on changing the vibration of our energy, the energy we have taken it inside us, or the emotional energy triggered in us, but we are not changing the vibration of the triggering itself. So that's interesting. So do we trigger, are we just changing our energy? Or are we also changing the triggers? Or are we also changing the emotions themselves, is what I'm kind of getting from that question. So that ties into my question. But my question is, what are the next emotions? What is the, does he want to say anything further about fear? Are there what other emotions does he want to speak about? And giving him permission to do that. So then my other question that would be in a follow-up, he said there's a great tsunami of emotions. This is an actual quote. He used the word a great tsunami of emotion. That was quote unquote a great tsunami of emotion, kind of sweeping through, moving through the planet right now. Even amongst people who don't consider themselves to be emotional people, they may not be responding to it. They may not be outwardly expressing it like more feeling type people do, but that doesn't mean that they're not experiencing it. So if there's anything further he wants to say about that, that definitely ties into my questions about this. And then since today is this special celebration of Vesak, also sometimes pronounced Wesak, Vesak is a more correct pronunciation, I believe. But since it is, the other question I have is about our enlightenment, about our journey of what some people would call to spiritual ascension or spiritual enlightenment. And if there's anything we need to do further for the mastery of our emotions, if it's just these ways of working with the energy, because he just always refers to them as emotion as emotion, energy in motion, right? So energy in motion, emotion. Is what he says they are, right? Like that's what they are. They're just energies, and they're just energies in motion. So I have those questions about and what we should be trying to do further to master our emotions, because he mentions this also in the text, like how that we need to master our own mind and emotions and be in control of them instead of them being in control of us. And of course, he talks about meditation and the role, very important role. Does he want to say more about that? That's one of my questions. Or does he have other things that he recommends for us for that mastery? He spoke about the universal laws. He spoke about the mystery of love. Always fascinated on those two subjects. In fact, he wanted to be asked more about those two subjects. So I don't know if he'll respond to it today, because sometimes I'll ask and not all the questions get answered, right? And that's okay. Maybe they'll get answered later at a time where they're not even being asked. I've had that happen also many times, interestingly. Um, the universal laws also, he has spoken about them. He has spoken about how they work together with the virtues in the past. He's spoken about the universal law of love, the universal law of balance, definitely the universal law of karma, the universal law of dharma. He's spoken about those ones for sure. The universal law of attraction, which is not necessarily I create what I think, but I create what I vibrate, like what the energetic vibration are. And thoughts are vibrations, so thoughts definitely play a role in that, but so are emotions. Vibration. So he did want him to be asked more about the universal laws. So that would be interesting. Like maybe if he can explain more how they all work together, right? Or the context of it all, right? I think it's such an interesting topic in our world right now. You know, the universal laws he speaks of, they can't be broken. We can't break them. We can try, we can do everything we can to go against them, and we're just going to get energetic pushback from that. We're just going to get energetic repercussions from that, karmic returns and things like that. The energy we put out is the energy that comes back, and sometimes amplified. So those are majority. Oh, I have one more. Again, I'm just going to put them all out there, and then I'm going to switch over to these others. And he may or may not, like I said, answer all of them. I'm going to be completely detached, right? Just kind of put it all out there and be detached to the outcome and to the result. So in this last message, it really stood out to me in the study group, actually. He said, be strong. And then he said, one, two, three, four, one, two, three, yeah, four things for us to do with our light after he told us to be strong. He said, anchor your light, hold your light, direct your light, and focus your light. And it stood out to me. I've heard him say anchor your light for years. I've used it on some of my write-ups. Something he's told me to do. I know kind of the way that I ground into my light and then ground my light into the earth. There's that way that I've been working on doing it. And he's said over the years, each of these things individually, maybe in some kind of way of connecting them, maybe in some kind of combinations with each other, but they really stood out after he said, be strong. And that he's really telling us and reminding us there's these different ways and different things that we can do with our light, and there's different ways for us to work with our light, and that we are light, right? He's always been saying this for as many years as I've been channeling, is that we are, you know, beings of pure light, the soul that we are, the eternal soul that we are. It may not be visible light, but it's still spiritual light of the spiritual world. And so we are light. So if he wants to say anything further about how, right, like how do we, you know, maybe anchor our light more strongly? How do we hold our light more strongly? And what does it mean to hold our light? I know how I've been interpreting it. I know how I've been working with it all these years based on his instruction to me, but maybe there's something else that I haven't been thinking of, or that other people haven't heard. And how do we maybe better direct it, focus it? What's the difference between directing and focusing? There's some differences that I'm aware of, but maybe he would like to explain it. So I'm just putting that out there. It may or may not fit with whatever he has to say. So then here's the final questions that came from the study group. And it says, we can ask Archangel Michael to speak more about emotions, how they unconsciously affect us. So so that's one of the questions. Can he speak more about how they unconsciously affect us? How do we increase our awareness of unconscious emotions? Is becoming more conscious of our suppressed unconscious emotions one of the benefits of amplifying the energies of the full moon? That's an interesting question. Is becoming more conscious of suppressed unconscious emotions one of the benefits of amplifying the energies on the full moon? I would say that's highly likely, because the energies of the full moon are amplifying everything, and the unconscious is more prominent than the conscious. But let's see what he has to say about it if he answers it. So then Archangel Michael said external things can serve as triggers for our fear, but they are not the source of the fear. He says that no external energy can cause our fear and that these emotions are ours. They are individual energetic reactions. Does that mean that he is saying that we are individually the source of the fear? And is there more that he can say about this? That would be an interesting clarification question. Um, he does say that we, the triggers, nobody else outside ourselves can make us feel afraid. It's a reaction inside of ourselves that creates that. So that'd be interesting to have him clarify. So then let's see, that got that one. And then is it still preferable to transmit energy that comes to us or through us, even if the energy is of a lower vibration? By simply letting it pass through us, aren't we letting it radiate into the collective energy field unchanged? Yeah, that's a very interesting question about transmission. Kind of an advanced question about transmission. Kind of a complicated, because if you haven't read the Keeping Your Heart Open book and all the teachings that is given on the topic of transmission, it might be hard to even understand that question. So if he does, I'll ask if he does decide to answer that. Maybe he'll need to explain a little bit more about it. And then this one I think is really important. This is the last of all the questions. Says Archangel Michael says there is no good or bad emotions, but there are some emotions, for example, fear, that we should transmute, transform, transcend, versus other emotions like awe, love, gratitude that we should amplify. It seems a little contradictory. I don't see how that's contradictory, but okay. Seems a little contradictory. Can he explain? He also said that it is not the energy that is good, bad per se, but what we do with those energies that matters. So maybe I'm asking if there's anything more that he can say about the way these low versus high energies affect our hearts, minds, bodies, spirits, and then the effect they have when they ripple out into the collective field. Yeah, again, that's kind of a complicated question, but I think it's an important one, because I think we all struggle with what we think is good and bad emotions, and he has made it clear both in the Keeping Your Heart Open book transmissions and in the most recent transmissions that are on the podcast and the full moon transmission last month that from the angelic perspective, they don't see any emotions as bad. It's more like just the emotions that we like and the emotions that we don't like, right? And then what we do with those energies, because they're emotion, they're energy in motion that determines whether they're good or bad. That decides, basically, that's the determining factor involved in whether anything good or bad comes of them, right? So, but the emotions themselves are just energies, and it's how we respond to it, how the mind responds to it, liking it or disliking it, and then also how we respond to it by what we do with that energy. And so yeah, there's times where the emotions we don't like, he's definitely saying to us in all of these transmissions, I believe, the ones that we don't like and the ones that we definitely use them to hurt ourselves or to hurt others, right? We can hurt ourselves with our emotions. We can hurt others with our emotions. That those are for sure the ones that we want to transform, transcend, transmute. But I'm interested in hearing any further answer that he has regarding this question, any further explanation that he has about it. And I like the question about the positive emotions, the difference between the low versus high energies and how they affect our mind, body, heart, and spirit. And if we allow them to just kind of pass through us, like transmission is often described by Archangel Michael as light passing through a glass, right? Like transmission, the example that he gives is becoming like the glass and just letting the energy pass through us, right? Just like light passes through a glass pane on a glass window. So that means we're not holding any of it. We're not responding to any of it. We're just letting it move through us, right? We're just letting it move through us. And so you're saying that it doesn't just continue to ripple out in the collective field. It's already in the collective field. It's already collecting. It's already moving through the collective field anyway. So I think that's a complicated, like kind of big kind of question, but anything it has to say that helps us understand any of that would be very helpful. I agree. All right, so those are all great questions, and I think I just need to start. That's what I'm feeling. I'm going to just grab a couple things here and take a sip of water, and I'll take us through the process. I'm trying to get these introductions to be shorter, including the question time. So, because I don't want to limit any time for Archangel Michael. And yet I get requests for these videos and audios to be shorter, but I'm like, well, I can't always control all of it, but I'll try to do my part on the part where that I can control. All right, so next, I made the glasses for this next part. So next we're going to, we're going to hold off and I'm going to respond to anything that's popping up on the chat. Yeah, my right ear is very red for some reason. I have no idea why. It's also very hot, so maybe there's some energy going on here. There's definitely some energy, something heating it up there. So if we could just hold off on the chat now, because we're going to go into the sequence. I'm going to take us through those 4 things now, done in 5 steps, and those 4 things are praising, asking, thanking, and receiving. And the 5th step is to return back to praising again. So praising, asking, thanking, receiving, and then back to praising. Think of it as a circle, or think of it as a clock, right? So praising, asking, thanking, receiving, and then back to praising again. So completing that circle, coming full circle. So the praise at the end is going to be slightly different and easier and very quick, much quicker than the praise at the beginning. And the angels have explained praising as an act of love. It's not about boosting ego or giving power or any of those things. It's really an act of love and devotion. And the way that they do it, that they are in a constant state of praise, is through the reciting, the chanting, the singing of the sacred names of the divine. And the sacred names that they gave me for these transmissions were very specific. I've always use them for these transmissions. It doesn't mean I don't use other sacred names of the divine, because I do, especially throughout my work as an interfaith minister. But I always use these ones for the transmissions because they were very specific. And so the names that were given for the angelic transmission work and for the praise work of this session are Adonai, Elohim, Adonai, Eloheinu. And so those are the divine names. They're basically Hebrew names of God. And there's innumerable names of God, especially when you look at all the different world religions and the teachings that are within them. But the singing and the chanting of them is what I'm going to be doing as the praise chant. But we're going to add in the name of Michael, but in the form of, there's many different pronunciations around the world in multiple different languages. Again, if we can refrain from using the chat until afterwards, because it just makes my screen blip and it kind of just throws me off my sequence. So I'm sorry to ask for that, but we'll just do a chat at the end, okay? All right, so what was I saying? See, it throws me off the track of what I was trying to focus on. Okay, so we're adding the name of Archangel Michael is what I was saying. So there's many different pronunciations throughout the world, different languages, etc. The pronunciation that I'm guided to use is Michael, because you hear the L vibration in there. El is another ancient Hebrew name for God. In fact, the name Michael, with EL at the end, Michael, all the different other pronunciations that are Michel, that EL name is that ancient Hebrew name for God. But the name itself translates to he who is like unto God. So you're invoking again the divine, and it's also an invocation of Archangel Michael, whose name is literally translates to he who is like unto God. So Michael, 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 Adonai, Elohim, Adonai, Eloheinu, Michael, Michael, Michael. That's the full praise chant. And there seems to be some kind of a delay. Just hopefully, okay, the screen just totally blipped on me. Now I'm going to ask somebody to use the chat to let me know that you're hearing me okay. And before I'm glad this happened. Okay, all right, yes, thank you. All right, so back to the praise chant. Screen hopefully won't blip on us like that again. Yes, appreciate that very much, thank you. All right, so we're going to do it, and then I'm going to guide us through the asking and the thanking and into the receiving. So we're going to sit back, we're going to make ourselves comfortable. We're going to close our eyes. And we're going to center ourselves first by just taking some long, slow, deep breaths. Now I'm going to guide us through the praise chant, and you can do it out loud with me because everybody's muted. Can't see or hear anybody, so you can do it out loud or you can do it silently. But it's best if you are not just a listener, but you're a full participant. You get the most out of these sessions by participating fully. Mekea. 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 Adonai Elohim. Adonai Eloheinu. Mikael, 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 Adonai Elohim, Adonai Eloheinu, Mikael, 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 Adonai Elohim, Adonai Eloheinu, Mikael, 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 Adonai Elohim, Adonai Eloheinu, Mikael, 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 Adonai Elohim, Adonai Eloheinu, Mikael, 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 Adonai Elohim, Adonai Eloheinu, Mikael, Mikael, Mikael. Deep inhale, then exhale. And then we're going to go from the praising into the asking. So next, I want you to all join me silently. Just join me silently, first in calling upon the presence of divine love and divine light in whatever way feels right to you. And then let's silently ask to be protected and connected by a circle of love and light, a circle that extends beyond space and time to include all of us, wherever we are, whenever we are listening to this. Creating a circle of love, a circle of light, that we are held in light and in protection and in connection for this time period, for this transmission, and for our connection with Archangel Michael. And then we'll go deeper now into asking. I want each individual to now ask and invite Archangel Michael into our circle of love and light. Ask him to come forward today and to be fully present with us. But also ask him to be fully present for all on the earth and to use this as his opportunity to bring through the full moon angelic transmission that he wishes to give for the earth, for all of humanity, including all of us. Ask him to give the full energy transmission and the full vocal transmission in response to any of the questions that I've asked and put forward on our behalf here today. Asking him to respond to any or all those things. And also giving him permission to just speak through us and to send through whatever energetic light transmission, light activation that he wants to give, that he feels is for the highest good for all of us and for all beings everywhere. And then we're going to move into gratitude. And first, we want to send out a silent prayer of gratitude to Archangel Michael, thanking him for always being there, doing what is for our highest good. In times when we know it, in times when we don't know, in all the ways we're aware and in all the ways we're unaware. And just thanking Archangel Michael for all that he is, all that he does. With love and with gratitude. And then whenever you're ready to move on, you can move on in your gratitude prayers to sending out yet another prayer of gratitude. The next one directly to the divine, whatever your personal relationship with the divine is. Sending out just a personal prayer of gratitude directly to the divine for the blessing of life itself and all the blessings of life and in life that you're feeling grateful for right now. Just sending those prayers of gratitude out. Opening your heart and expressing your gratitude. And now we're finished with the thanking, and so we're going to go into the receiving. So we're going to sit back, relax even more now, make ourselves even more comfortable. We're going to do some deep breathing. We're going to go into a relaxed meditative listening state. Just want you to go into a silent receiving meditation. Just use your breathing to relax into just being open to receive and to listen and to stay in that meditative state. All throughout the message is his instruction for the receiving. I'm going to go deeper now into my meditative state until the next words will be the message coming through. It is I, the Archangel Michael, responding to your invocation, to your heart's request, and to the questions that indeed indicate to us, to all of us, always, what you are ready for, what you are open to receive. And while I may not answer all of the questions that have been asked today, by focusing on the things that I am teaching, those answers will all come. Some things have already been said and will be said again. Some things need to be said and taught again and again and again until all is understood. And that understanding is not just intellectual comprehension, but full and conscious whole realization. Complete realization, which is different than just understanding something with the mind, and especially the left brain analytical mind, in and of itself. Whole realization is heart, mind, spirit, and in a way that helps you to integrate into your way of living, being, embodying the universal truths, the universal wisdom of all that is. That is full realization. And there have been teachers, many that have walked the earth, who have reached full realization, full self-realization, full divine realization. And one of those teachers is celebrated worldwide today. Many people think that there is only one who is named the Buddha. And there are many, because it is a title. But the one that is celebrated today taught many, many wise teachings. All of them have. And some of them are far more than teachers. Some of them also are what are referred to in the ancient Sanskrit word of avatar. An incarnation, a descending of a presence of the divine into the world to not just teach, to not just show the way and all that fall into this category worldwide over all time and all millennia. All have shown the way. And there's not just one way. And that is why it is also being shown again and again and again, and will continue to be shown. It will continue to be illuminated. Truth is one, yes, but paths are innumerable. There is one truth. There is one source. There is one divine. That is not limited in the way that you are all limited in the capacities that the mind, the emotions, and your physical body are limited because they are of the material world. They are of the material nature. They are to be, yes, mastered, so that you have them as eternal spirit souls to use as the fullest, most advanced instruments on the planet. When you put together with the combination of your human vessel, your organic biological instrument is capable of, with your mind capability, conscious and unconscious, with your heart's capability, including your emotional heart, but also including the heart of your heart, and including the portal within your heart that opens through the soul to be direct instruments for the divine. When you put together those things, you are, humanity is, and will be, and will continue to be the most advanced of all upon the planet, and of everything and every living being, not collectively, but individually, but especially when you learn to master what you are capable of collectively, especially so, and especially true then, because that's when it really exponentially expands. When you really are able to be fully conscious and be realized in what you are all capable of in your co-creation collectively. There is nothing greater upon the earth. And this is one of the reasons why you have so much influence already upon the earth and why you have created so many amazing and advanced things. And why there is still so much that's going to be created. And why the things that you have created are going to continue to evolve in amazing and magnificent ways. Ways that are even going to stretch you outside of your comfort zones, which absolutely must happen. It is essential for your soul's realization, for self-realization, and what you are all capable of collectively, that you all be moved, expanded outside your comfort zones. How that happens does not have to be something hurtful or harmful to anyone. But sometimes that is what people choose. Sometimes that is the way free will is used. It is not the rightful use of free will, but it is the way that free will is used. Right now is a time, as I was speaking of, as I have referred to it already, a time of great karmic return, a karmic inflection point for humanity. Karmic inflection points are not punishments. Karma does not ever exist for such a thing. I repeat this because it is necessary. It is necessary because of the two-dimensional thinking that you continue to all fall into about what karma is and what it is not. As this channel is correct, it is the energy that you put out that returns back to you. It's not just metaphysics. It's not just spirituality. It's actual physics. Some people refer to it as action and reaction. Some people think it has stopped. Some people think that it no longer is real or it no longer exists, or that you have left that behind. There are ways of transcending it truly. And yes, there are ways, absolutely, of moving into entire different states where it does not affect you the way that it affects you. And the majority of where humankind is vibrating at the moment, living at, existing within. But you are here. You are in physical form. You are incarnate in human life. You're in a magnificent world and planet. that is truly a portal planet for so much more of what you are capable of, that the planet itself is capable of. And when I was speaking of earlier, of most advanced beings, most advanced upon the planet, I was not including the planet itself. I was referring to upon the planet, within the planet, on the planet, especially on the planet. There are those that move between the worlds, that move between doorways and portal dimensions. The travel that is real. It happens, it occurs. It is something that has been witnessed before and that will be witnessed and will continue to be witnessed, because that is not going to stop. It is only going to increase. The beings that are advanced enough to move between the portals, move between the dimensions. The third dimension is important for them as well, is a very important dimension, and the Earth planet is a very important planet for them as well. And then there are those of us from the angelic realm. I have also stated that more of us will be appearing. More of us will be appearing to you because of these times of uncertainty, because of this time of karmic inflection where things are returning at a very fast, accelerated pace, the quickening that I have referred to in many other messages, and that I will speak more about in the future. Actually, right now, there are many of us in the spiritual world that aren't part of the material universe, like those who cross between the worlds through the dimensions. That's still the material universe. We are of the spiritual world. There are many of us not just interacting with you the way that we always interact, not just bringing you signs and synchronicities in the way that we always do, not just interacting with you through thought transference like we always do, and through the dream time where we always interact, but manifesting ourselves more and more to help to connect our energies with yours, to guide, to protect, to connect, and to direct. This does not mean that we are taking birth. We are not incarnating, especially those of us of the guardian angel and the archangel realm. This is not who we are. It is not what we are being called to do. But we are appearing. And when we do appear, we are appearing in any form that we can make the connection through. The vast majority of the time right now, we are appearing in animal form, and we are appearing in human form. Not with wings, not that form that has been seen many times and that you can see through your spiritual sight and your spiritual vision, and that sometimes we will still appear with those winged forms to your physical vision. But we're not talking about visions even. We are appearing more in moments, in short connections, not entire lifetimes, but through someone that you meet or that you have a brief interaction or encounter with, or someone that you see or who's holding an energetic presence or holding an energetic space, because that is also what we are doing. We are also choosing to incarnate more in the future, but that is in the future. It will not be in your lifetimes. But we are choosing to manifest in order to hold an energetic space, because it is necessary to briefly bring our energies more into matter, into the material world, into the planet, to hold an energetic space during this time of great uncertainty. Will you always be aware of who we are and that our presence? No. No. There are times we don't want anyone to be aware. And the ways that we can manifest ourselves beyond human form and beyond animal form into elemental form, as we can also manifest ourselves in any element, any mineral or element of the earth. And we can manifest ourselves in obvious ways, such as through forms of light and the way that light moves and the way that light manifests. And many have already been experiencing this and seeing this. This is even happening and occurring in photographic phenomena, that some of those things are being detected. But even when it's not showing up in photographic phenomena or ways noticeable, does not mean that our presence is not there. But even when our presence is not there in tangible ways, we are always with you. Our energy is always connected, doing everything in our power to be guardians of the earth and guardians for each of you. And accepting anything, any service to expand that power in a way that is divinely intended, in a way that is aligned with the universal laws of all that is sacred, and for the highest good and benefit of all, because this is how we operate as beings of pure love and light. And it concerns us that the shadow has grown so strong that there are times where I will be appearing more. To anchor the light, hold the light, which is holding an energetic vibration. And I am doing this in response to what I spoke about before, and in response to some of the things that you are asking about. I'm not just anchoring light and holding the light, I'm also directing it and focusing it. But I am not the only one capable of these things. Just like the Buddha understood that he, as special of a being as he is and was not the only one capable. All appear into the human form, into the human incarnation, to show what the human incarnation is capable of. All of the most enlightened ones, all of the most enlightened masters, and all of the divine avatars. Those that come into incarnation, they have come into incarnation, not for their own benefit, but for the benefit of humankind. Not just to do things for you, and there's always so much that is done, but to show you what you are all capable of. And ultimately, to remind you that you are not your mind or your emotions or your body. They are temporary. They are all of this temporary world. But there is that which is beyond temporary. That your own science has begun to acknowledge, discover, but has not crossed that final bridge yet. And to understanding it the way that the spiritual traditions of the world understand it. Even though they do not agree, there is universality in the essence, in the core, and definitely at the source. At the source. So given all of this, why does the uncertainty affect you so much? Why is it easy to forget all that I have just stated and mentioned and discussed? Why is it so hard to see with your spiritual vision and with your worldly vision the interconnectedness of all things? Because this isn't something that also, again, is theoretical. It's not theoretical. It's universal. All things truly are interconnected, which is why I have spoken about it so many times through this channel and so many others, and brought it into the realization of so many hearts and minds in any way that I could, and I will continue to do so. What blocks you is how some of you will say it, how some of you will ask it. Some of you have come far enough in your spiritual awakening where you've realized much, but you've also realized that there is something obscuring that clarity, the wisdom, the discernment, the realization, ultimately, which is what enlightenment is. Full enlightenment is self-realization and divine realization. each individual and yet combined, interconnected. I will not go into elaborate detail on all of the things that create the shadow, but it is an obscuring of the light, absorbing of the light that creates the shadow. And so, what is it in you that does that? One of the big things, not the only thing, but one of the big things, and some of you have already begun to identify this, is your emotions. I have in the past described, and I will describe again today. Think of them as an energy field so strong that it's like a whole other body. Like you have three bodies. Energy manifests in the form of your physical body, energy manifests in the form of your emotional body, and energy manifests in the form of your mental body that you refer to as your mind, that we oftentimes refer to as the mind's field or the thought field. This is definitely some of the ways that the ancients have understood it. Not all, but a few. There are other mystics who've understood it very much in these ways. It can be a helpful way of trying to understand it. Each one is of the material nature of the material world and very much under the influence of all on the material nature of the material world. So it will be important as I go forward in this series of speaking about the emotions to describe, yes, more about the universal laws and to ultimately describe more about the very nature of the material universe, of the material realms, of what we refer to as the material world, which isn't just one planet, it's an entire vast realm. So there's an interconnection between them all. Powerfully, they are intertwined. And they are intertwined through your spirit, the soul and the spirit. Animate them, move through them, use them as the bodies, the three vessels, the three vehicles for everything that you are here to manifest in your personal lives, create in your personal lives, and co-create together. But it's ultimately all co-creation, all of it. It's ultimately, yes, a call of destiny, as I've referred to do so. You wouldn't be here and you wouldn't come at all if there wasn't an initial call of destiny, and then there's more that have come forth. But that topic is more for another day. The emotion I wish to speak about for this message and this transmission right now, that I am energetically working with my love and my light to transmute and to transform and to bring into a whole different transfiguration as far as how it manifests and what form and all of the forms and ways that it manifests. And even one of the reasons why I have decided to appear more, manifest more in the material energy in order to do so, is the emotion that you refer to as anger. I spoke of fear last time. It is very much also one of the emotions that are motivating many of us to assist more and do more. But the emotion that you refer to as anger, many people who are good people, virtuous in many ways with kindness and caring through that kindness, and compassionate and empathetic and loving in many ways, and to many people and to animals and others. They often don't think they experience this emotion, or that they have this emotion, or this emotion is in you as much as it might be. There's a great deal of it on the collective level, the collective energy fields, the human collective energy fields that penetrate into the collective energy field and have a very prominent effect on the collective energy field of the planet. Many people do not feel that they have anger, or that they feel anger, or that they are angry, oftentimes, because there's so many other emotions that are directly linked to that energy that are like roots or branches, however you wish to think of it, whichever you prefer, that literally branch off of it. Just like fear has worry and anxiety as its two main branches or roots that are a part of the fear vibration. The energies are all coming from fear with those emotions. When you are worrying, it is rooted in fear. You would not worry about anything or anyone if there wasn't a fear behind it. When you have anxiety, when you have anxiousness, even if that fear is linked to excitement and that emotion, the anxiety has some root, even if it is just one root, in the fear, perhaps the fear of the uncertain, or the fear of the unknown, or just the fear of what will come or what will be. And if it's anxiousness that comes from things that is associated with excitement, then it has roots and branches that go into that emotion as well. But anger has the same type of thing. Many people experience irritation, irritability, even in your bodies, inflammation. Many people experience frustration, being frustrated at yourself, or irritated at yourself, or others around you, or others you don't even know, but they have some direct or indirect influence on you or on the world. Being inflamed in any way emotionally, irritated, frustrated, being irritable. These all have their roots in the emotion of anger. They are subtler. They are not as strong of an energy of anger than anger manifests in its form, full form, and in its expanded form, in its amplified form, and its uncontrolled form, where it can be amplified, manifested, expanded into uncontrolled states that range in very different expansive ranges with different kinds of rage. Regardless of what way it is manifesting in. All of these that I'm speaking of are connected to the emotion of anger. And fear, combined with anger, is far more common and prevalent than all of you, yes, are conscious of. There's all the ways that you're conscious of it, and many of you can see it, and how they intertwine and how they manifest in you and in others. But there are, yes, many, many ways in which you are unconscious of it. And as far as the question as to how to make that which you are unconscious of conscious, that is the process of bringing something out of the shadow into the light. Everything in your lives, everything that is happening in your personal life, everything that is happening in your nation, everything that's happening in your world, in your communities, in your families, everything that is happening that triggers them is giving you an opportunity to bring it from the shadow into the light, to choose to see it, to choose to recognize it, to want to see it, to want to recognize it. Because you have to want to see it and recognize it for what it is before you can really choose it. And it's not unless you choose it that it really will come out of the shadow and into the light, that it really can be fully transmuted, transformed, transcended, and transfigured. Because transfiguration indeed is required sometimes, because sometimes these things are not just energies in motion. They originate as energies in motion, but then free will gets involved, and free will choices and actions are made and based on those emotions, on that energy. That energy then goes into physical action, and it goes into physical form, and it goes into physical materialization, putting it into physical form and physical materialization. And to remove it from that level and all the ways that it is manifesting, to clear it to where it clears all of its manifestation into the physical and material lives that you're living, and the physical and material bodies and the physical and material relationships, does require something even further for transfiguration to happen and occur. Some of that may sound that it is just some magical thing. And there's definitely the levels of the spiritual workings of things that truly are awe-inspiring, that cannot be understood or explained, at least not yet, and not now. But really, there's also very practical ways of undoing that which manifests. The same way that it manifested in the first place, that the energy went through a transfiguration process to influence and take form in your lives or in your relationships. The same way that it manifests in the first place, it can be transfigured again into something else, into new form, into completely new forms. So that process of how you got there in the first place, of how it started to take form, wanting, willing, is huge in that process. But you see, when it takes form, especially anger, into things beginning to manifest, such as quarrel, and things beginning to manifest, such as fighting, and then how that can lead and unfold to great disruption and even continue to unfold into war and all of its variations and all of the ways that it can manifest energetically from energy into form. And is there a combination of fear and anger, emotion being driven by the unconscious shadow, being amplified, being held, being directed, and being focused more and more towards quarrel, division, divisiveness, fighting, and warring with each other? The answer to that question, even though it has not been asked by anyone other than me, because it's an important question that you all do sometimes ask, and it's an important question to ask right now. The answer to that question is yes. Can it be transformed, transmuted, transcended, and transfigured? Absolutely yes. Can the way that it is moving into manifestation right now be fully brought into a new transfiguration? Yes. It does not have to be. It does not have to be, and it does not have to move the way that it is moving now, especially the fear and anger energy combined. But it is not the only two emotions that combine in order for it to fully manifest. But these are two primary ones. And I'm not just speaking about war between nations. There are other ways of it manifesting. There are ways on the energetic level of how you and what you do with your energies with each other and towards each other, that can also manifest. A bigger topic for another day. But I spoke earlier about wanting to know. You think you're going to be more comfortable and that you can stay in your comfort zones, and you cannot. There's already been big enough shifts and transformations underway right now, requiring everyone to expand outside their current comfort zones. Does this mean that you cannot be comfortable? Absolutely not. Does this mean that you have to be more afraid? No, that's not what I'm saying. Because comfort zones aren't what keep you safe. They're not what makes you feel good. It is illusory ultimately. The way that you create your comfort zones to think that your safety and your security and your peace and your happiness comes from them. And they don't. I can assure you, they don't. Your comfort zones can only be created. The illusion of your comfort zones being the source of your safety, your security, your peace, your happiness can only exist because of the divine energy source that is the source of everything that you can create. You can create a comfort zone that convinces you that that comfort zone is the source of your peace, your happiness, your safety, your security. Because the divine source is there giving you that energy to create that comfort zone. But the source, the divine source, is where the safety, the security, the peace, the happiness, the joy, the comfort, the bliss, the safety, security, the calm, the quiet, where it all comes from, where it all originates from. And that's not just some source outside of yourself, because that divine source, it exists outside and inside too. Outside, everywhere, all around you. If there is anything that's truly outside, then yes, outside, but inside too. And inside and outside, there is no separation between the two. Not in reality. You experience them differently, and they are not the same in the way that they are experienced. They truly aren't the same, but they are one. They are interconnected, the inside and the outside, the inner source, the outer source, the soul and the soul source, and how it is sourced from within. This is why all of the great masters and all of the avatars and all that have come and all that reach the highest states teach that the peace that you seek, the safety you seek, the security that you seek, the comfort, the joy, the happiness, the bliss that you seek, you find it within. You source it from the infinite, unlimited source of it. From within, it is not conditional in the world. It is not conditional, and there is not a limited, finite amount of it. Just because you live in a material, finite form, in a material, finite world, you have forgotten that this energy for creation and co-creation and for all of this joy and abundance and peace and happiness and safety and security, it's not limited. It's not of the finite. It's not a limited resource like the amount of water that is on the planet or the amount of oil or a mineral that is on the planet. Those are limited resources on the planet. But your peace, your happiness, your joy, your safety, your security, they are not limited resources. But your fear convinces you that there is a lack and that all that you need is limited and you might not have what you need. And that can trigger such fear that it triggers the amplified, uncontrolled levels of it, of being terrified, even horrified and terrified, being those most amplified manifestations of it. And your anger can also be very much triggered by this consciousness of lack, this consciousness that there isn't enough, or that there will not be enough, or that there is a lack of it, or a limited or a finite amount of something. or that in this limited finite moment, some of it is being taken away from you, or some of it is interfering with your joy or your peace or your safety or security at the moment. That something might be interfering with it enough, or someone might interfere with enough to take it away from you. Because that which is finite can be taken away, even if it's just a very, very brief moment and a very small thing, which can cause irritation or irritability. Nothing has been disrupted. That is truly what you need for your happiness, for your safety, for your security, for your joy, for your bliss, for your peace. Maybe a moment before responding with your emotions could change everything. And this is taught today in many healing circles, but it needs to be practiced far more widely. The benefits of meditation are so numerous that it literally takes volumes and volumes from all the spiritual teachings and teachers of the world to describe it all. But one of the benefits of regular and consistent meditation practice, regular, consistent meditation practice, is that it helps you to pause before reacting, even if it's but an instant. And the more that you do, then you can react and respond from a totally different place. If someone says something, instead of responding with fear or anger or any of its subtle or amplified forms, like worry or irritation, instead of responding with those things, the benefit of meditation practice in consistency is you won't be responding as much from your mind or from your emotions. You're putting the witness, the observer, the I am, that is the soul within you, the I am that you are, the I am that is the experiencer of the emotions, the I am that is feeling the emotions, the I am that is thinking the thoughts. You're becoming more and more into soul realization, self-realization, the I am that you are, the I am that I am that is the experiencer, the thinker, the observer, the feeler. You're putting that part of you more in charge. You all want it to be something easier. You want the answer to be an easier answer because you think meditating takes time, and especially meditating where you really do learn to control the mind and become the witness and hold the energetic space for all of the energies of the mind and the emotions to move through, and to connect with the heart and connect with the heart of your hearts and the still point for the mind and the still point in the heart. But if I were to tell you that there is something extremely valuable that holds a great amount of value and worth, that is right there for you to use to pretty much have whatever you choose to create in your life and co-create with your life. Wouldn't you want me to point to you and tell you what that valuable thing is? And be truthful and honest with you about it? That is what I'm doing. It is extremely valuable, the time that you put into meditation. Meditation with prayer, meditation without prayer, meditation with sound, meditation without sound, meditation with stillness, meditation with action, all of it. Use that valuable thing that you have. Does it take some work? Yes. Does it take some dedication and commitment? Yes. Does anything in your life that's worth it and is the most valuable thing and worthy thing in your life? Yes. But you say to yourselves that the worth and the value of your work and your families and your lives, that those things take up all of your time. And yet, it is something so valuable that those that you hold most worthy and most valuable in your lives, and those things that you hold most valuable and worthy in your lives, can truly be benefited by it as well, not just yourself. Because the benefits of meditation don't just go beyond helping you be in control of your mind rather than your mind in control of you, and helping you be in control of your emotions instead of your emotions being in control of you. Think about it. If you are truly in control of your mind and in control of your emotions rather than them being in control of you, how valuable would that be in your work lives, in your professional lives? How valuable would that be in your relationships with those that you love? How valuable would that be in all of the commitments that you have and the responsibilities that you fulfill? You can imagine some of that value, but I'm going to describe that it is far more valuable than you can imagine. imagine it and keep imagining it, because sometimes imagining those benefits will be the thing that keeps you going to the next day and to meditation for that next day. And how valuable it would be for your health and for your wealth and for your longevity. Because the value of it is also much more clarity. The list could go on and on and on. It doesn't have to be the same meditation all the time. What's most important is consistency. But also what's most important is consistency in something that keeps helping you go deeper. And keep going deeper. Even in the times in which your mind wants to struggle. Your mind is not the only thing being benefited by the meditation. Your emotions are as well. And your mind and your emotions, as intertwined as they are, can tap into the unlimited source. And I encourage you to visualize that for yourselves. The unlimited source within you and all around you of all that is virtuous, of all that is everything that you seek and that you want and that you desire for yourselves. That is worthy and that you are worthy of. And I'm not talking about material things right now. And safety and security are not just material things. They're very much emotional things. And there's not just your own anger and fear, but there's also the anger and fear of others and how you react to it. Someone else's anger and fear, it can feel as if, yes, they make you angry or they make you afraid because their fear is so strong that they made you afraid, or their fear or anger is so strong that they made you angry. And while there is indeed someone's emotional energy being projected off of them, and that projected energy can come straight at you, and it can hit your energy field and it can hit your chakra system. It can just move through transmission. And that doesn't hurt anyone or anything by allowing that to do so. You don't have to be the ones to absorb it in order to take it out of the energy fields. You don't have to be the ones to be responsible for it, even though a great many empaths do. People are misusing the term empath just as they are misusing the word love and light. And those terms should not be misused. They also should not be judged or condemned because they're very real things. Empaths will often take the energy into themselves in order to take that energy out of the energy fields. And that in and of itself is okay. Empaths have the ability to do that, not by accident. But you cannot just hold it. and holding it inside of yourself to where it builds and builds and builds in your shadow. And then it becomes anger in your shadow, unconscious anger in you, unconscious irritation, frustration, irritability in you. Then it manifests outwardly in a whole other way. Something absolutely must be done with that energy. If you absorb it, if you take it in, it must be transmuted, transformed. The virtues must be applied. It's not enough even to just let it go or release it, because empaths will have a very difficult time doing this because you took it out of the energy fields for a reason. But it is okay to just let it pass through in transmission because it's not your energy. It's not your responsibility. And there are other things that can be done. There are prayers that can be said. And other ways in which there can be things to counteract or counterbalance, where the energy does not have to be taken in. But going back to what I was saying, because it is important, no one else does make you afraid. No one else does make you angry. It's their energy, and then it's your reaction to their energy. It may be instantaneous. It may be very quick, very fast, almost instantaneous, that you respond in kind. Their anger, creating the presence of that energy. And yes, a trigger that will exist in you that can cause you to respond in kind and responding with your anger. And there are some people who are actively engaged very powerfully in the world right now who are masterful at doing this. They know how to use their anger to trigger other people's anger. And if everybody just stays in anger, frustration, irritation, irritability, or diverts into fear, then that's what's being amplified. And again, there are no bad emotions. There's only what you do with those emotions. Anger is anger, fear is fear. They are energies, but what then do you do with them? You don't like them. As we have explained to this channel, as I have explained and taught in the teachings about keeping the heart open, you don't like them, so you want to avoid them. You choose to push them into your unconscious. You choose to push them into the shadow of the unconscious, or to ignore them, or to turn away from them, or to turn a blind eye to it, thinking that it just goes away or that it will go away. And in some cases, it will. And in some cases, it is the right choice to walk away or to not respond at all, to remove yourself from a situation or a relationship in which something is just continuously triggering and you don't seem to have or feel that you have any power to respond differently or to transform or transmute or transcend anything. So in those circumstances, it may be absolutely the right thing to do, to walk away, distance yourself, create as much space as possible, as much disconnection as possible. But this is not the case for everything. And it is simply not the case for everything that you dislike or that makes you have to step outside your comfort zones. You have to use your intuitions ultimately to discern which is which. Listen to the deepest part of your soul, the knowing of your heart, as well as the wisdom and intellect of your higher wisdom, to choose which circumstances is which. But far too many times, you don't choose to face what's there in the unconscious and the shadow and bring it out into the light and respond to it in a totally different way. And I'm not saying, and I want to make this very clear, that the most loving response to someone who is propagating anger or using anger to create harm in any way, or using fear to create harm in any way, I'm not saying that the loving response to that is to agree or to go along with, for it's not. That's not love. Love does not hurt, it does not harm. Love does not condone something that is not of love. Love isn't about condoning things that are not of love. Other virtues can be helpful until you learn, until you are really, truly at that point where you can learn what Yeshua has taught, where you can learn the advanced wisdom, the advanced practice of unconditional love applied in all circumstances, and what that looks like and how that manifests. Sometimes it'll be the virtue of patience in situations where maybe you're getting easily frustrated or easily irritable, using that virtue of patience. Not patience that maybe even someone will change, not even patience that someone will do something different, but just patience in yourself. That your reaction to what they are doing, your reaction, your emotional reaction, is to consciously choose to amplify the virtue and vibrate it on the emotional level of patience. And perhaps with some of those stronger forms of anger that I was speaking of earlier, and instead of choosing to respond to that with strong anger, might I suggest the virtue of purity, purification, which I've also referred to as cleansing, moving into a consciousness where you are vibrating that, to where you are choosing to transmute, to cleanse, to purify that energy that's moving inside of you, so that you can choose to act, to react, to do, to serve, to respond in a way that is not of the same vibration, but in a way that can help to cleanse, purify, or transmute that vibration in you and in others, in the energy fields. All of the virtues can be used as their emotional response. They can be emoted, all of them. That's not by accident. The divine energies of creation that you have the ability to co-create with, all that you are here to co-create as a part of your destiny and a part of your soul contracts, individually and collectively. Those energies, you can emote them all. You may not necessarily know exactly how to emote them, and the words for the virtues may not directly apply immediately in the way that you think about them as emotions or ways to emote them. Recently, I have spoke of, not during the global transmissions, but through this channel, the virtue of resilience, for example. You may not necessarily think of resilience as an emotion because it is a virtue, but meditate on it. This is the other thing. You can meditate on anything in order to gain deeper understanding of it. Just like you can meditate on your breath and connect further, just like you can meditate on the beating of your heart and connect further to that which is real, to that which is true from within. You can meditate on any of the virtues, and I highly recommend it. And you can meditate on the virtue of resilience. And as you meditate on the virtue of resilience, meditate on how it can be emoted. Emotion. It's also a verb. You emote. So how do you emote resilience? I'm not asking you to ask me. I'm asking you to meditate on it. And to feel within your emotional body it move and be emoted from there. Because it is one of the proper responses to so much of the energy, emotional energy that, yes, when you combine it all, and I'm not just talking about the fear energy and the anger energies and all their forms, but all of the emotions right now that are moving like a worldwide tsunami through the collective human energy fields and the planetary fields in general. When you emote the virtues as a response to any of those energies, then you are consciously choosing how you respond and in what way you're responding, and you're aligning yourself with the divine will in that response and what you can co-create will ripple through into your actions differently, and you will act differently, and you will choose differently, and you will do differently, and that will bring about transfiguration. One heart at a time, one mind at a time, one emotional body energy field at a time. Through the ripple effect, through the whole. Regardless of what others are doing. Whether they're doing it or not, whether they understand it or not. Regardless of what they are emoting. Choose, dear ones. You choose. What you emote and why you want to emote it. This doesn't mean there won't be spontaneous emotion. That will always be. And I will always say, I am not talking about perfection here, especially the skewed human concept of what perfection means and is, and the way you all judge yourselves by it. This is not about perfection. It's about emoting from a place of realization. Where there is realization is where there is manifestation and co-creation. And you truly can create and co-create. So many amazing, beautiful, wonderful things. That's the end of the message. Let's just take a moment to say a silent prayer of thankfulness and appreciation for the message. And then we'll slowly bring ourselves up out of the meditation. And as I'm coming up out of the meditation, I'll bring it full circle by just doing the Adonai Elohim by itself, completing back to praise. Adonai Elohim, Adonai Elohim. Adonai Elohim, Adonai Elohim. And then we'll bring ourselves fully up out of the meditation. And I'm going to attempt to describe a few things that stood out to me. One of the things standing out to me right now is just how incredibly peaceful I feel. I believe that this whole energy that he was transmitting with these words was meant to take us into the comfort zone that doesn't get taken away by anything or anyone or anything of the world. So I feel more in that comfort zone. It's a totally different, that's the eternal one, right? So that's a beautiful feeling. And yeah, one of the things that stood out to me very much there at the end when he talked about the virtue of resilience, um, I was just feeling at the very end as his energy was lifting out of it, like myself, even like my mind starting to get active and thinking, how do I emote resilience? And then just like just feel like just focus on it and feel what it feels like, and that vibration and that way of emoting it, right? We're so used to it's almost like the analogy I have to give is that I was recently in Hawaii, and that's one of it's actually one of the places where this resilience virtue was revealed, but that resilience was revealed as a virtue, I'll call it that. And I was describing to some people that I was with that there are so many different kinds of bananas, and yet we eat like one or two varieties. That's it, right? And I was feeling that at the very end when it was like, oh, we can emote all of the virtues. And I was, as he was lifting energy up out, and I was trying to emote them, trying to feel them and feel into them. Um, some of them are easier than others, but um, it was kind of like that. It was kind of like, what, wait, we have just like this small number of emotions that we're emoting on a regular basis. Like it seemed like a small finite number. It'll be interesting. I think I might even ask him, is there like a number of emotions that we're kind of like emoting over and over again? Um, and then there's more, right? Like in definitely the 44, he says there's 44 virtues in which there's 36 or 37, I think, that have come through the channeling so far. And um, there's emotions associated with all of them, right? And some of them are obvious. We can feel love, compassion, empathy, hope, right? Those peace. We can feel the emotions of those. Patience. I think we can feel the emotions of those. But then there's some that's not like when he brought up two. He brought up the cleansing purification virtue, and like to feel that, like tune into that, that virtue, and like really try to like emote it even as a way of like not just cleansing it out of us and through us, but also through the energy fields to the ripple effect, right? The way that like if we do it in ourselves, it ripples out. So yeah, those are the things that kind of stood out to me. So any comments anybody wants to make, feel free to do so now in the chat, even if it's just to say goodbye. But if you have any comment you want to make about this, also any questions anybody has, feel free to do that as well. So now is the time to put anything you want to put into the chat, and I'll start to take a look at it. And if you could put it in the chat and not the Q&A, that actually, I don't, it's just easier to just check one and not have to check both. Because I overlooked the other one the other day when I was doing the study group. Okay, let me try to go back up here. So good to be here together. Blessed flower moon. Yes. And it's so nice to be here tonight. Oh, thank you, Irene. And the ear is not as red. It's still a little bit, but it's not as red. It's not as hot. So that's interesting about the ear. And then Nellie told me that she heard me. Okay. And then let me slide down here. All is good with the sound. That's good. Irene, thank you, appreciate it. And Elizabeth, thank you, Anna, good night. Good night, Bev and John, thank you, Minor, good night. Marie, thank you, Anna, blessings, good night. Good night, have a very wonderful evening. And Rhonda says thank you. That was incredibly powerful. I agree. It was very powerful. Felt very cleansed by it myself even. So he's high. Is there somewhere where you can find more on the virtues. The podcast, my Celestial Voice podcast, is where I think all of the messages that I've channeled so far with him giving teachings on the virtues are up on the podcast, starting somewhere, I'd say maybe around message 12, 15, 16, something like that, when he starts talking about the subject of the heart. Um, if anything pertaining to the podcast with the heart, that's where he kind of started to teach about the virtues. Several Celestial Voice is the name of the podcast. Celestial Voice podcast by Anna Jones, and you can find it on iTunes. You can find it on YouTube. Although those older ones are not going to be on YouTube, you can find it on iTunes or on my website at annajonesonline.com. And then, is there somewhere? Okay, I just answered that question. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Virginia. Thank you, Alina, Susan, Adriana. And it's always amazing to see how much he covers. Yeah, I think he did cover a lot, didn't he? It was a long one. I think this was a long one. Maybe that's another reason why I'm feeling like I got to start shortening these introductions. Maybe he's feeling out speaking longer. Thank you, Cherie. Appreciate it. Glad you made it. Thanks, Teresa. Candy, sacred dance and yoga tai chi came to me strongly as ways of transmuting energy. I'd say they're ancient techniques for doing so. It says, do you have insights on sacred movement? Thank you. So beautiful, this transmission. No, but if you were in the study group, you could submit that as a question. I think that would be an interesting question to submit, Candy. I'm not sure if you're in the study group this time. Thank you, Anna. Enjoyed very much the sessions. Oh, thank you, Katrina. Appreciate that. Very interesting and intriguing. Yes, it is. The branches and the roots of anger was so helpful. Yeah, I saw both, like some ways in which it roots, some ways in which it just branches. I was kind of seeing both manifestations, not just kind of one or the other. Um, the rooted ones seem to be like deeper stuff that like goes on, lasts longer, like stuff we're angry about for a really long time. I'm glad you brought up the anger and the roots because there was visuals I was getting with that, and I was getting that sometimes if it's the branches, it could just be something that just kind of goes off and just kind of disappears. The rooted ones I was seeing are like the longer ones, like they're like staying angry for years about something, or being in the same fear or anxiety, like it becomes more rooted, even other lifetimes or something. So that was interesting, the branches versus the roots. Um, okay, yeah, no problem. Anybody can join the study group at any time. You don't have to have participated in the very first session. You'll get all the recordings, even if you start like halfway in. You'll still get all the recordings for you. You won't have missed anything other than the live sessions. But yeah, so all right, everybody. I think that's it. Thank you so much. Happy full moon, and I will talk to you or be here next time on the full moon in June. Okay, see you then. Take care. Blessings.